when communities have secure rights, when institutions are strong, and when planning honors ecology, tourism holds the potential to become genuine instrument of prosperity, a vehicle of change that simultaneously preserves and uplifts. That is the spirit which we begin this session today. We have seen land is not merely an economic asset, but as a living system, rooted in culture, identity and livelihood. So today's conversation means to further explore and develop this belief. Yeah, this is me. So I am part of Indian Gramin Services, and also I am also one of the members of International Center for Responsible Tourism, ICRT India Foundation. So it's my honor to moderate this session with a very eminent experts join very soon. Former Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, Government of Odisha, who is having a rich experience, and he was the longest serving Chief Executive Chilika Development Authority. He has contributed in ecological preservation of Chilika Lagoon, which is the largest brackish water lake in Asia. And he is also currently associated with World Bank as a consultant, promoting, supporting and contributing in ecological landscape restoration, and with rich experience in biodiversity conservation. And he is very much proactive in community stewardship, and I am fortunate enough I have worked with him at Chilika Lagoon. So give him a big hand and welcome Mr. Our next speaker, Dr. Raj Basu, so known as Tourism Gandhi. He is having more than 4 decades of experience contributed to the community-based tourism across several parts of the country, and more specifically the northeastern region. And he has also founded 2 very important organizations. One is Health Tourism, and probably this is the first tourism company registered in India. And he is also the co-founder of Association for Conservation and Tourism Act. So he is deeply rooted with conservation, and he has used tourism as a vehicle to support livelihoods as well as preserve the local landscapes. And he is also the advisor to Tourism Department, Government of Arunachal Pradesh. So give him a big hand, and also welcome to Dr. Raj Basu to the dais. Our third speaker, so very young, energetic entrepreneur, and she is from this Gujarat state. And after having the chemical engineering, she had something in her mind to become an entrepreneur. She was interested for the zero waste technology, and landed up with providing the travel experience across the tourism domain. And also she is fascinated to working with some of the very vulnerable communities in Gujarat state to secure their livelihoods, secure their sustainability without damaging the culture. And fortunately, her work has been acknowledged at national level and international level. In 2023, she was awarded in the ICRT award for the Meaningful Connections Gold Awardee 2023. At the same time, in the same year, the Global Award, WTM Award for the same Meaningful Connections. So give her a big hand and welcome you, Niyati, to the dais. Our fourth speaker, who is joining online, so she is Miss Sudha. She is Indian Forest Service officer, I think 2013 batch Forest Service, and currently she is the member secretary of Tamil Nadu Planning Commission, State Planning Commission, and she has studied biomedical engineering. Again, another engineering guy converted her life to land planning as well as the forest management. So give her a big hand and welcome you, Sudhaji, and stay tuned online. And our last speaker, Dr. Aditi Chaudhary, she is also supposed to join online, so but she is right now in Geneva. Just day before she went to Geneva, but unfortunately she is having high fever and sore throat. She just messaged me just 2 hours back, so maybe she will not able to speak if joined. So still I am waiting if at the last she can join. But at the same time, what is about her, she is a very proficient academician. She is working in IIT TM Noida Center, which is part of the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And she is actually worked a lot in the sustainable tourism space, and also she is also part of International Center for Responsible Tourism. And I just forgot that Dr. Raj Basu is also the member of Indian International Center for Responsible Tourism. So give her a big hand, though she is not here. So I'll set the context before I just throw some of the questions to our fellow panelists. So how the Indian tourism landscape is all about, and how we actually crafted this concept for this ILDC 2025. So tourism is actually fire. So apart from the COVID time, tourism is actually growing, and it will grow every year. And international inbound tourism in India is actually growing. And but for the past few years, apart from the economic impact, this is also emerging trends where the community-based tourism, community-based ecotourism and responsible tourism is actually shaping India's future. And many of the parts of the country, there are pockets of the areas where people, agencies and individuals are actually started practicing and adopting responsible tourism as a goal to conserve the ecology, at the same time provide dignified economy for the local landscape and the people. So at the same time, Government of India, Ministry of Tourism also promoting responsible tourism and rural tourism, and also they are shaping up the policy on sustainable tourism. So which is a way to go. Why land matters here? This is also an important slide where these conferences actually follow this topic. So there are a lot of challenges around the ownership of the land, who owns the land, who governs the land, who uses the land, the tenuity and also securement and entitlement is actually a big questions for everyone, where the community-based tourism actually considered as a vehicle for the development of the local area. So the challenge between the land and livelihoods, and in between the tourism is a connector. So there are so many unclear pathways and limitations are still exist. There are always dialogue about the development versus sustainability around the tourism destinations. So I think this session is going to answer some of those critical questions. So the key challenges undermining the governance, rights and access, so which I am not going to deep down because we have our fellow panelists who are rich experience will actually share their perspective around it. But the core outcome of this session and the future which we actually are envisioning, that is building resilience, which is basically how to adopt the nature-based solutions while promoting, supporting the tourism. At the same time, how the sustainable infrastructure design and implementation will be answered to actually not only making the place sustainable but also the impact sustainable. And third, how the integrated land use planning will play an important role while the policy makers preparing policy for any tourism sustainability, where the implementing agency, civil society is actually facilitating the community-based tourism around the different natural habitats. And yes, I have already said that the policy frameworks is one of the key takeaway and focus area, and also the community rights, how to safeguard their rights while promoting sustainable tourism, and how the gender responsive planning and women's in land rights will play an important role in this community-based tourism and land governance. And finally, the responsible and inclusive investment models will play an important role, which is not only making the area sustainable, but also while India has set its own goal through the NDC as well as the different COP, and recently the COP30 has also set some of the goals, global goals, how the community-based ecotourism and tourism will play a role to contribute in net zero target. At the same time, our India's mission towards prosperity, Vikasit Bharat. So definitely this tourism, I am 100% confident that tourism is the only sector which is actually contributing all the 17 SDGs of UN. So without making any delay, so I'll just stop here, and I have very key questions, and I will have 3 different rounds. So I'll just going to Parishan, our panelists, with 3 different thank you. Thank you. So, the first round will be a very common ice-breaking round. The question is same for everyone. So, the first question is, please be able to. Yes. So this is the common icebreaker question for everyone. So community-based destinations are built on deep relationship between the people, land, and local culture. What I just said a few minutes back. From your experience, so what is the one fundamental principle we often overlook, but must bring back when we talk about making tourism destinations truly resilient? So this will be a 2 minutes round. So I will start with Dr. Ajit Patnaik.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for the very important question. After Sanjeev told me to be a panelist, I kind of tried to find some of the cases where the community-based tourism is a successful one toward the real end curve. So first thing I found is the secure land booking. And then there's the first point I would like to flag here. Wherever the successful community-based tourism is exists in the country or sorry. So globally, I found that one is that is included in a very strong land pure land tenure as well as the stewardship towards conservation, as well as transparency, that is the benefit sharing which is happening amongst the community, and the, of course, the participation, where we found that the both the women as well as the male members, they all contribute to it, and that leads to a sustainable tourism where there is a respect not only just to earn but to also the, to conserve the even in some cases they are so apparent where they have also made the conservation plan, community-based conservation plan, and using their traditional wisdom, they have been, trying to not only manage, very efficiently, do the advocacy to include it in the national policy. So at this stop here.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev ji. That was like a quiz master to the rest asking questions. Anyway, often we forget, land itself is one of the strongest tools in climate change. Because we need to understand that, because how we use that land is, most of the time, if the land use pattern is only for the purpose of, human use, estates, and against using it for a sustainable earth, where the humans can live for a longer time, could be thought over whenever we think about any kind of development activity. Tourism is no exception. The only thing, the advantage in tourism that we have is tourism is a social activity. It doesn't come naturally. It is created by human beings. And in that case, and tourism is one of the activities where you can get the maximum, economical benefits with the least land use pattern. In no other industrial activity, this being the largest industry, tourism being the largest industry in the world, if you watch it very carefully, you'll find that it is the least land use with the biggest economical gains. At the same time, it gives you ecological gains and it gives you emotional gains by creating aspirations for the youth to live to their traditions. So it has a lot of advantages. Not every time that you have to look at tourism as a mainstream activity, but for most of the governments, for development organizations, for activists working on ground, I would say they must use tourism as a tool for bringing together, as a complementary activity for bringing together the presence, the visibility of what they are doing over there, the pride into the local people. So that is the biggest advantage tourism has. So how do we use the geography, the land and the people through tourism is something what is very interesting. We've been doing it for the last 4 decades almost, and we have found that it has really given dividends. Because any other activity that we see of takes away a lot of land directly in that. Tourism is only one of the activities that without giving ownership, the activity can be continued and taken forward. Thank you.
Hi. So answering your question, one of the things that I feel is often overlooked when we talk about tourism and when we talk about what makes it resilient, what sets it apart, is also the value of a good community leader to take you around the experience. One thing that we often overlook is that yes, when we create a homestay network, when we market a destination as a tourism destination, land is extremely important, but you also need people who are hopelessly in love with that land to show that love, but when tourists come, to show it to them. Why? What makes that land special? It can be anything. I come from the most barren region of Gujarat, and it's still one of the most popular regions that brings people again and again and again. Because there's so much of warmth, there's so much of hospitality in the people that live over there that you can't help but fall in love with that land. You can't help but keep coming again and again and again because it starts to feel like you belong here. And that is the job of a good community leader. And nobody is a better community leader than a very strong, often maternal woman to guide or be the steward of the community and take you around and show what this land means to her community, to her people.
Thank you, thank you. Sudhaji, please unmute and share your perspective.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have joined here today. Perfect audible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. To answer your question, I think land and communities are inseparable. So, talking about tourism, when you consider land to be one of the important resources for tourism, I think the equal amount of share is also lies with the local communities. So that's the reason that in terms of land use, I think Professor rightly said about the land use is about how the human utilizes it. So I think this is one way where sustainably the way of sustainable development. I think taking communities together and promoting tourism. This is the best way forward. And this is one of our most lucrative needs in terms of supporting the local livelihood as well. We have got a lot of lessons learned, a lot of stories within our country from local communities, especially different states have adopted different models. So I think India as a country with a lot of diversity and a lot of communities, local communities, and rich natural heritage and rich, cultural heritage. So I think we are definitely leaders in terms of living in the sustainable tourism. So I think this is definitely the biggest USP to position the country in the global arena. That's my take on how I visualize land, community, and the tourism.
Thank you, Sudhaji, for your thought. Actually, very interesting thought in this round. People are talking about the land use pattern and also the emotional and ecological connection and the gain. At the same time, Sudhaji also talked about the land and tourism are inseparable. So it means the values, the experiences, actually somewhere the connection is deep-rooted, which everyone should pay respect while encouraging and also providing the experiences. So I'll just come back again to our panelist. Again, this is.
Greetings everyone.
Oh, Aditi is here. Please give her a big hand. First of all, thank you so much, Aditi, for joining us. Aditi, share your experience.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm extremely sorry due to certain health issues I've joined late. And greetings to all the esteemed panelists, and thank you organizer for organizing such a thoughtful session on the tourism and land use session. And very well said by all the panelists about the things that we need to focus when we have to do resilient destinations. What I can do is summarizing all the key inputs from academic perspective is we call in a simple word it is called the stewardship. We have a principle across India that where the community or destination stewardship is very strong, the communities are able to claim back the lands and run the models in which they want to develop a destination, be it Kerala or Lakshadweep or Tamil Nadu. So in that particular thing, that stewardship is the result of lot of skilling and awareness. People should be aware about the uniqueness of the land, how to make it more powerful, and how to utilize it in a step pattern. So from an academician point of view, I think a lot of awareness creation, if they have to own the land, they should know what are the rights. If we have to focus on getting more and more revenues from the land, they should know the venues or appropriate activities which they can implement. Very well said by me also. So for me, the keyword is stewardship, which is the result of lot of scaling and awareness.
Fantastic, fantastic, Aditi. Thank you so much. So as Aditi talked about stewardship, so without delay, in the next round, so my question directly to the Project Patnaik. So based on your work in ecological and social landscapes, so how can the community stewardship be strengthened so that the land use choices in tourism destination that support both the ecological resilience and local livelihood security in a balanced way? So over to you.
Yes, my slides. Yes. Yeah. In fact, I think just to walk you around the world, I thought, yeah. Just to walk you around the world, I just put few cases. I just scroll across those slides, which would read. Yes, please. Right. So we'll start with Ladakh. I think scroll. So this is again from Ladakh. Here, what you'll see, basically, kind of are we entering around the land tenure, and the land ownership. So this operates with the community managed land, and this happened to be a bit controversial before this Snow Leopard Conservancy India Trust. They anchored. Yeah, when they anchored and they tried to work very closely with the community. So now they've come up with a very responsible tourism where the benefit sharing, village conservation fund, and the tourism income is, that is very transparently that is distributed, and this model transformed a former conflict zone into a resilient socio-ecological production landscape where the the agricultural land as well as the traditional whatever customary rights were there, they were all amalgamated into the protected area also. So then coming to Arunachal Pradesh. So here, yeah, this is the first tourism village which was in World Heritage Site. I think it is again in tentative list. Here, okay, sorry. And here, what happened? The community owned landscapes. These are the community and the landscape, but the land is owned by the panchayat. So the panchayat gave the stewardship to this land stewardship to this community. So here the tourism revenues again are distributed very transparently, and so they use it for the conservation as well as for their various for the community ownership over the land is demonstrated here in a very apt way where the traditional governments participated planning and which are sustaining the both livelihood as well as the resilient tourism economics. So the Kerala case is again a very interesting one where the first model tourism village, and the Gram Panchayat, they own the land, but the entire planning is done by the community. The homestays, then the extensive the mangrove, these are protected by the community, which are the USP for that particular place. And the core lesson learned can be which are learned from here are the local government controls the land, but at the same time, the decision of the community steward the common tourism state. So here, again, though the land is owned by another model, the land is owned by the panchayat, but that the entire land, the stewardship as well as the patronage comes from the villagers. So now coming to our neighbor, Nepal, here this is Annapurna Conservation Area. Here again, this is a decentralized governance, and the community control, even in the protected area, the user communities as well as the conservation area management committees. This is another model where the community responsibly manage the both biodiversity as well as at the same time the land and the customary right, whatever the land right is officially recognized through bylaws. So here the community they secure the control over these benefit sharing, and the participatory zoning is done by the community. And here you can see the real the role of the community. They are not simply kind of managing the tourism, but also the land management in both the conservation of the biodiversity as well as the tourism by innovation. I think what they do, various guided and cultural experiences, and they also put their norms in place. So where kind of the photography and other things are sensitive, whatever community sensitive issues are there, they're also squared up. Then the benefit sharing is very transparent again. All the visitor fees, they go for maintenance of the trail and water points and indigenous custodianship of the landscape. So this is what the land governance. Then here again is what we see, the indigenous tenure is legally recognized. So that provides, so in all the cases I have been trying to bring in, invoke the point that the stewardship and the land tenure, clear land tenure is the key. Now I think last part one, this is Namibia's communal conservancies. Here again you see the secured communal tenure, then land, legal wildlife rights. There were the wildlife rights also legalized through the Nature Conservation Amendment Act 1996, which grant registered conservancies to the community. So through that, what they do, the benefit sharing, quotas, concessions, if someone want to put, something like lodge or composite, so they get the composite concession, but at the same time, it's all land ownership is communal. Never goes to the private entrepreneur. And the biodiversity conservation, and whatever outcome, again you can see that they that is being recovering for population, the elephant, black rhinos, which are they're flying alarmingly. But through this initiative, now there is a huge recovery in that. So the correlation is that when community hold clear right over land, wildlife, tourism becomes a driver of ecological restoration and durable rural economies, not of the land, but and there is no biodiversity degradation was taken care of. You can see here this the elephant population is increased significantly, and this orange, they've done the donation. These orange are the real concession areas where they can do that. This last but not the least, but this is the most powerful one, which is from Madagascar. The Seychelles, where the marine spatial planning is done by the community, and most interestingly, it was recognized and signed. The community did the marine spatial planning, and this donation was legally, kind of recognized on 31st March 2025, where what they've done, the participated in the, they also take a TV. They take part. This Beo community, they're one of the poorest tribes, and their economic condition was really deplorable. Now, within last 6 years, Nature Conservancy, they need by advocacy, and they have, it has emerged as one of the most viable community-based ecotourism as well as the livelihood. So here, the MSC implementation is, they also they could do again the innovative financing, like the nature bonds is the first country where the bond for the Kyoto regime was partnered. So you can see that the basic lesson learned is again clear community rights over coastal land, water buffers, and combined with participatory zoning, that has really led to empowering the communities toward ecosystem while sustaining the local environment. So thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patnaik. Fabulous. What is sharing experiences in different models actually, that gives us the confidence and rays of hope. It is not only the Indian context but also the neighboring countries and overseas experiences. Thank you so much for brought these experiences to this forum. So now I am coming back to the practice now. Dr. Raj Vasuji. So from the practitioner standpoint, so what practical steps have communities to navigate informal land use arrangements such as commons or shared village lands, so that tourism initiatives remain fair, transparent, genuine, and intact, and collectively owned. Over to you.
Thank you very much. All of you, thank you, Sanjeev, for taking forward a very practical question. I come from a place which is known as the chicken snack, where more than 98% of the country is connected internationally, less than 2% with the rest of the country. So, doing any activity there is extremely interesting. I would start with a few examples, a few stories that if you are not on board, I could tell you a few stories. It goes back, to the Manas Tiger Reserve that is there. If you have all heard about Manas, it is Boreland in Assam. And for 20 years, we had political insurgency problems over there. And the worst part was the eastern part of Manas, through Lakhivala. So what happened over there is in 2002, because as a ecotourism activist, the field director called me there and he said that because you have models with communities, why don't you go and meet them, because that is one of the places where even the postman has not been to deliver their letter over there for the last 20 years. So you can imagine that no kind of government interference had happened for more than 2 decades in a place where we have so many people living. We had the Bodo Liberation Tigers, we had the Bodo Students Union organizations over there, and there was a regular conflict area. There I got to meet one of the very intelligent people who did not have one of the hats. His name was Buddheshwar, and while talking to Buddheshwar, because he did not have a hat, so certainly there is sometimes you get sympathy, that among the community there is someone who doesn't have this and that. When I talked to him, he said, and then we did a documentary on him that while he was living on the edge of the forest, the then so-called tiger reserve, the Manas Tiger Reserve, the forest department people had thrown him out, telling him that you are inside the national park area, inside the core of the national park area, of which he did not have any idea, because he knew that they have lived in the land for more than 3 generations. Because he saw his grandfather, then his parents over there, then he lived over there. So it was very frustrating for him. And that was one of the reasons that he became a part of the political insurgency program. And when I went there, the only thing, the notification that we had is that it is a World Heritage, because all of you know that Manas is one of the World Heritage sites. And it's a World Heritage site, it's a cross-border World Heritage. We have Manas National Park on the Indian side, and we have the Royal Manas National Park on the Bhutan side. So, this site was declared as a World Heritage Site in danger. It was written that it is because of the Boro insurgency this has happened. And they have taken away the entire the initiative of protection was completely spoiled, and they have robbed their own this one. So I took out this printout. The first meeting was with around 80-85, then the so-called militants. Now, this was all very young boys, and I told them, here is the paper which says, your Boro movement is responsible for spoiling your own home that you have. Yeah, because it was their backyard biodiversity. It is afterwards the national park. It is first their biodiversity, and they all said it is by nowhere. Then the story came up with the, like when they were having the political insurgency problem, how the people who were into regular felling, the mafias who were from Bhutan and the other regions who were into, poaching and trafficking of wildlife, how they got involved, because for them this became an open treasury. They started coming in, and then they used these boys because they had wonderful knowledge about the biodiversity, about the wildlife over there. So used them as to collect the trophies for them on their behalf. So they got all those papers and everything, and they said, it was only because there was no support, no help, nothing happening over here. We had to at least to eat 2 square meals a day, we had to have some revenue that was needed, and that is where they depended on. And Buddheshwar, that's the reason I told you about this history. And then when we started working with them, the entire community which was there, they were controlling almost 500 square kilometers of the core area of the Manas National Park. And then we created the same organization which were being used for political insurgency. We converted that organization into the Manas Mausigendri Ecotourism Society. The president remained the same, the secretary remained the same, the treasurer remained the same, the members remained the only that the name changed. From a Boro activist organization, this became, sorry, I will finish up, not to worry. So, this became, so, the land rights, that they were the people who first showed the conservation to the entire world. By creating that area as the Manas Mausigendri Ecotourism area. And we had Mr. Kishore Rao and Mr. Dr. David, who came all the way from UNESCO. We had called them and told them that our community was involved in the conservation, and by no way to be a World Heritage Site in danger, that the community would be responsible. And they talked to each and everyone in them. They were so very influenced that they went back. You could look at their 2002, 2003, in the UNESCO site. You'll find that they have talked about it in the UNESCO site itself, that it should be taken out from the World Heritage Site in India. And today, this is one of the most popular ecotourism sites that you see over there. As we got over to Manas, we got Manas into our hands. Then we thought, there is no other state in the country which has created many wildlife sanctuaries and national parks as Assam has done. And there, immediately after the success of Manas, we thought, why not use the land, use the forest which is there, which has been overdriven through, short-term activities of felling and the other activities, use it by declaring them into, protected areas. So very recently, Rayamona National Park was declared. Very recently, another Chikla Jalao National Park is going to be declared. So, you have a series of national parks, protected areas. They are coming up because of the consent of the people living around them, because they see tourism opportunities around this one. So that's the reason I said, with the least use of your activities, tourism gives you economical income, but the least use of the land value over there. We have served from Nagaland. Talk about Konoma, such a wonderful model. Whereas Nagaland is known for its silent forest. It is said that even you don't listen to a cricket over there, but there you have the entire pheasant sanctuary in front of you, because Konoma became the ecotourism village. It's a model ecotourism village. We also do protect the red panda habitat between India and Nepal. We have a very popular trek known as the Sandanpur trek. The Indian side is the Singalina National Park, and on the Nepal side we have tried and created some of the community conservation area, because the entire road and the forest is on the Indian side, and all the accommodation is on the Nepal side. So you can understand that for the purpose of the red panda conservation, there is cooperation coming up through tourism. So these are the kind of models which we already have, which are established model in the entire northeastern area. I should talk about Arunachal Pradesh, because this is the one of the most newest destinations that has been developed, because we also learned from other mistakes. So while we were working on Arunachal Pradesh, we made sure that the entire ecosystem is developed on the basis of homestays. Because homestays means ownership of the local people. Believe it or not, 98% of the ownership of tourism is with the women over there. Because the culture, the homestay is not an alternative for a lodge or a resort. It is the place where the safest place for the community, for the community to retreat, to nurture their own culture and traditions over there. So it is a point of the intangible cultural heritage, which you cannot see by a architecture, by a luxury or by some other thing. But you can feel it, you can experience it. So no hotel or no resort, nothing can give you that context of the tradition and the intangible cultural heritage. It is only the homestay that can give you that. And that has succeeded in Arunachal. Today, if it is coming in the best 10 destinations of the country, maybe it should be the best destination in the country by the next 3 to 5 years, is only because of the homestay movement that has happened over there. And imagine, there all the land belongs to the community by default. And in spite of having wildlife sanctuaries, national parks and everything, the law for Arunachal Pradesh and Goa says that the land belongs to the communities there first. So there is a lot of interference of the government of India pushing different kind of plantations over there, rubber plantations and then coffee plantations, tea plantations, even your palm oil plantations are coming up over there, which is very unfortunate because these are primary forests that we are having. This is the last retreat of the primary forest we are having. So it is only through the tourism movement that can be protected. And that is the reason we have proposed that the entire state should be declared as a World Heritage Site. We have done it for Sikkim. If you look at the Kanchenjunga National Park, that is the only dual heritage site in the country that we have. It is a nature culture site. It is the natural conservation that is built into the culture of the people. So Arunachal by default is still a place of the hunters and gatherers. So why can't we have the entire state be declared as a nature culture World Heritage Site? And that becomes a major attraction for tourism. Why tourism? Because we need to understand that when we talk about the economics, we are often forgetting to talk about bioeconomics. Because if you want the world to survive today, to go further today, you have to talk about bioeconomics. Because bioeconomics is about the green, circular bioeconomics is the future of the entire world today if you want to stop climate change. That is the only way out. What we have in return, we have the local, traditions of handicrafts, of handlooms and all these things in the entire state. So we use that as a creative economy. So creative economy with the bioeconomy is the future of the world that Arunachal is going to showcase in the next 5 to 10 years for the world to learn from. This will be classrooms of sustainability to achieve the sustainable development goals for the world to learn from. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Raji. What a fabulous practice-based model you are talking about. While Dr. Ajit Patnaik talked about 7 different models, but at the same time, I have also already shown the path how to practice the Manas example as well as the combination of the creative economy and bioeconomy with the pathways. So now coming to our policy maker, Sudhaji is here. So Sudhaji, the question is directly to you. So what policy and regulatory measures are most needed to strengthen the land governance framework that support inclusive community-based ecotourism and rural tourism development? So over to you, Sudhaji.
Thank you so much. So I think this is the most toughest question of all, because we talk about the policy and the regulatory framework and etc. That's definitely something, very, very hard, because for a country like India, which has got a lot of states and a lot of, potential for each of the states to come up with tourism. So I would like to take an example of how Tamil Nadu is looking into tourism and what kind of transformation Tamil Nadu is trying to bring in. So that will be helping the audience to learn about what at the state, what the state governments can initiate. So recently, the state government came up with the policy, tourism policy in 23. So this policy has been valid for about 5 years. Maybe if some other upgrade comes, it will that policy will be superseded. So the main aim of this policy is to position Tamil Nadu as a global destination for tourism. So for those people here in this call, I think you must be well aware about the number of tourists that's been visiting and what kind of domestic tourism potential and global tourism potential. And definitely Tamil Nadu is in the top position between Gujarat and TN. We always compete, first or second. This is the level of, the level in which the state moves on. So that gives us a wonderful opportunity to talk about tourism. And let me tell you that Tamil Nadu aspires to position tourism as an industry. So tourism as an industry shouldn't be looked at the angle that industry is, in terms of development, and also in terms of supporting the employment. And thirdly, the aim is to position it as an opportunity to provide, the skill development, to support the community, support the livelihood activities. So these are the different objectives in which Tamil Nadu is moving forward. And cultural tourism is not just the only tourism that we are focusing. We are focusing on multi-pronged approach. Medical tourism is again something very strong, and tourism is something really booming. But when we talk about communities, and to come back to this question of communities, how the rural linkage between tourism and lands could be coming in, has given us a wonderful case of how Tamil Nadu is transforming ecotourism. Ecotourism policy is something not new to the state and definitely not new to the country as well. In 2017, we came up with one exclusive ecotourism policy. And with ecotourism, how the joint forest management and the EDCs, the eco-development committees, has been working with these local fringe villages, the joint forest. It is actually a form of the joint forest management when you talk about natural heritage and the tourism in terms of the forest and using all these natural advantages to rightly tap up the tourism potential. So that model, we have got a lot of cases within Tamil Nadu. One I would like to take from one example is the Mahabalipuram. Mahabalipuram is definitely a brand which is adopting an international framework to convert itself into a potential tourism destination which could be pictured itself at the global level. So this one destination has got a lot of cultural significance, has got a lot of linkages with the local community, enabling the local community to be the entrepreneurs, to run a lot of tourism services in this area, and definitely to become a sustainable model. For example, getting to sustainable model, I would like to tell that it is a green destination, which is directly recognized as a green destination because it's promoting a lot of solar energy. And this one place, with the support of the local panchayat, has converted itself into a plastic-free tourist destination. When you visit Mahabalipuram, I don't know how many of you have visited Mahabalipuram, they will be a small tax when any vehicle enters in. And they ensure that no plastic is being carried. And located next to Chennai, you know how difficult it is definitely to control when you have a lot of, domestic tourists coming from different part of the country, also global tourists coming. And these are measures which has not been done in a recent time. It's been something which has been done over a period of time. And I think this is definitely an interesting model for municipality or a panchayat to be adopting to take it to take a local area to the international standards by involving the local community, the local bodies taking up their responsibilities. So let's move from Amalipuram to one exclusive model where Kodaikanal has been adopting it. Kodaikanal, you know so much, Tamil Nadu doesn't have a lot of hill stations, but the two prominent hill stations is one Ooty, another one is Kodaikanal, which has a lot of pressure in terms of tourism and a lot of pressure in terms, some even adjacent state people do travel, especially during the summer. So in Kodaikanal, you have a lot of challenges in terms of traffic control and all that. But there is one place called as Mannavanur. This Mannavanur has come up with an excellent model of ecotourism. The local people who are residents of that area, which also involve some of the tribal people and some of the localites, they were really involved in promoting this area as an excellent tourist destination. They are still running a lot of eateries there, and this is the only eatery where we don't have any other private area where people coming and providing the services. And the local community is providing an excellent service that they are up and running for almost like 10 years. And this model has completely plastic-free, using only a lot of the ecological practices, water conservation, lot of models by involving the community, the guides, the people who run the ferry services, the people who operate the products, all of them are only the localites. So I think this model is definitely a sustainable model, which when you involve the local, you really, because the sustainability is not about bringing big jargons, big Western jargons. It's about how you transform these Western jargons into your local ecology, into your local, how you localize it by involving your community. I think that is the way forward for sustenance and towards sustainable development. I think these are some of the case studies in which has given us a lot of examples of how things could be done. And thirdly, how tourism could be operationalized as a corporation. The recent initiative by the government of Tamil Nadu is to establish TM-TREC. Tamil Nadu Wilderness Ecotourism Corporation has got established. It is up and running for about a year. In this, they have utilized the services of the local tribal people. These local tribals and or the local villages are trained to be the eco guides. These eco guides are taking people because trekking, that we had one very unfortunate incident of the Kodangini fire, which happened in Eni in 2018 because of the unregulated, trekking activities, which really ended up in a big disaster because of forest fire, which just came out of nowhere. People succumbed to death. 23 people passed away, and this is something gave us a good lesson that how Tamil Nadu learn something from a disaster and try to regulate and try to move forward in terms of regulating it. And trekking is definitely very popular, and this ecotourism model of involving the local into a wilderness corporation, providing them the adventure tourism experiences by using the localites is not just a way forward in terms of sustainability, in terms of supporting the local ideals, in terms of making these tourism practices more a responsible tourism. So I think these are different case studies from Tamil Nadu, and the policy also talks about how this could be strengthened further, and how tourism as an industry could become a responsible way of utilizing the land, nature, and the local community all together to ensure the economic development. So I think that's one model for the state.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you, Sudhanshu.
I was happy to talk about, but I hope that I did give you an answer.
Fabulous experience. Thank you so much. Give us the end. So directly coming to near in the interest of time, very crisp. So how can gender sensitive land rights be integrated in tourism planning for the sustainability?
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak on the subject. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep it very brief, and we'll just stick to the points rather than give examples for each of the examples that I've set or I've experienced through my more than a decade of worldly tourism industry. So tourism is often promoted as a catalyst for economic growth and local development. I'm going to read from what I've written material so that I keep it brief. So sorry for that. However, without deliberate safeguards, tourism expansion can reproduce or intensify existing social inequalities, particularly those related to gender and land tenure. As Ajit sir very specifically pointed out, land tenure is extremely important when it comes to land and land rights, and especially when it comes to women. Women, despite the central roles in the land use, in the household provisioning, in the natural resource management, they remain disproportionately excluded from land ownership and decision making. Globally, only 13% of the land is owned by women. When we talk about India, it's even less. It's almost 8%. And most of these landowners that we talk about are women from affluent communities, women from upper caste, not the ones who are, when we talk about scheduled tribes, scheduled caste, the land ownership, the ratio gets less and less. It's so dismal right now. And that's where we need to focus when we talk about women and land rights in the tourism, particularly in members from tribal communities, because if you exclude Northeast from the whole landscape, rest of India is doing really bad when it comes to land ownership amongst women from scheduled tribes. It's only in Northeast that we see really stellar examples, which makes the ratio even slightly more, valuable or to be able to talk about. So for that, several measures need to be taken on different fronts. One of them is policy and legal reforms. First, yes, gender-sensitive land rights must be embedded within the national and the local policy frameworks. And this begins with legal recognition of women's right to own, inherit and control the land, including mechanisms that protect these rights in the context where customary norms predominate. Secure tenure is extremely essential, not only in preventing displacement, but also for enabling women to access credit, invest in sustainable land management, and participate meaningfully in the tourism value chains. Tourism planning systems themselves must adopt a gender-sensitive framework. This means that environmental and social impact assessment should explicitly examine how proposed land tourism projects may affect women's land access, mobility, livelihood, and safety. Other thing definitely that we need to focus about is on creating a proper data. We often when we are collecting data, especially in the field of tourism, we often collect a very gender-blind data, and that's why better gender assessment tools need to be put in place when we discuss tourism policy, when we talk about legal frameworks. And for that to happen, we need to have a very inclusive community-based processes when we talk about planning in tourism. And for that, women's participation is extremely necessary when it comes to decision making. Women's participation is frequently limited by cultural norms, time-intensive care responsibility, mobility restrictions, and safety concerns. Therefore, participatory methods must be adopted in local context. And supporting women-led initiatives is extremely important when it comes to that, such as cooperatives, producer groups, local governance committees, and all of this need to be taken into account when we talk about women and their land rights in a particular region. And fourth, and the most important thing is that they need an economic and social empowerment. Without this, legal rights will just be on paper and not be in practice. And for that, for that, we need to train. We need to train more women, and we need to train more areas, in different areas, for market linkages and financial literacy, which is a key issue when it comes to women-led tourism initiatives. We talk about women empowerment, but in a country where even women, men from women's household run a pseudo government to surplus level to any place, other place of governance, it's cute when we say that women-led initiatives are important, and then when we go deep dive into the initiative, we realize that it's a bunch of men running, holding the strings to the puppet, and women are just a front. So we need to have that kind of, we need to have a transparency, we need to have better assessment as to whether the initiative is truly women-led, or it is just a show. I think that's all I would like to say.
Give her a hand. Thank you so much, Nati, and just consolidating all the perspectives. So coming to our Professor Dr. Aditi Chaudhary, this is really a rapid fire round for you. So how can the academic research and education introduce the new perspective of the land governance and community entitlement to strengthen the inclusive tourism at the Indian context? Over to you, Chaudhary Aditi.
Yes. Yes, sir. So there are two important aspects you have asked me. One is land governance and another is community participation. So for the land governance, academies refer to a phase-based approach to it. We started near about in 1950s and 70s when we very deeply saw the problem of top-down approach to it, and the focus on developing a bottom-up approach. But it was easy to say and difficult to do because many times the community are not aware enough, empowered enough to drive towards that. The ultimate aim is not community participation. The ultimate aim is to build a tourism ecosystem which is driven by and controlled by community. So the place-based approach to tourism gives an equal importance of government to establish framework where community are made aware and skilled, and so that they can take up the ownership. And the second part about community, the basic training these days we are focusing is the enterprise support system. So communities need all the skills which are going to become an owner and entrepreneur. So the enterprise support system is one of the best training models which are focusing. So that academy and so that communities understand the unique qualities of the ecosystem and build upon them and enrich them to make destination resilient and then to own up the destination rather than they are being managed. They should know how to own up and manage this.
Thank you, Aditi, for the fantastic conclusion for your. So thank you everyone, all the panelists, Dr. Ajit Patnaik, Dr. Raj Basu, Niyanti, Dr. Aditi Chaudhary and Sudhaji, for your time and the valuable perspective you brought together to this ILDC session. So I hope the ILDC will be benefited out of that, and this is the way forward for the next level of initiatives. And thanks everyone, all the audiences, to listen to us, though because of the
post-lunch session.
Yeah, post-lunch session. And definitely our panelists are in and around, so definitely you can raise any questions and any conversation. You are free to ask any of the questions. So thank you so much, everyone.
My written for
वो दोनों कैसे हैं?
So virtually I